Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into Sin's Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So I don't know how much of a review this is going to be, so much as me just gushing about how much I loved Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. So, you've been warned. This book was amazing! I know I said a lot to people that just reimagine Interview with a Vampire, but they're all sapphic and 10 times more toxic. I really love this book. I love this book. I am just like, Schwab is just queen to me, honestly. Schwab, and this is one of them. It's just like, I will bow down to you. I think for me, what I really loved was just the atmosphere. And I think I said that a lot with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue too. And if I didn't record that review, I am sorry, but I love that book, so just go read it. I think for Schwab, they do such a brilliant job with building that atmosphere and building that storytelling and just really creating a story that you lose yourself in. Like, all you want to do is sit down and read her books. Like, for me, all I wanted to do was sit in bed and do nothing but read this book, because it was absolutely so phenomenal. I mean, that atmosphere, that world building, that tension outside of the characters, it lingers throughout the entire story. It lingers throughout the entire plot, and it really just sucks you in because it's just so well executed. You know, it's not a small book to read. This book is it's a few hundred pages, but I don't even remember because it's so inconsequential to me, because it felt effortless to read. It was so smooth, it was so fluid in how it went between the characters as well. Because you have your three characters. You have Sabine, you have Alice, and you have Lottie. So it's going between these three characters at different points in their life and their relationship. And I love that. It's just so easy to read. You know, it has such an easy, fluid momentum to it as it builds the story. Like, first it begins with introducing us to Sabine, and then it introduces us to Lottie, and then not really Lottie, we're introduced to Alice and then Lottie, right? So you understand that at some point these three characters are going to get together. You know, they are the core of the story, but the who and the how and the when is very important, and it keeps you intrigued. So we're starting with Sabine, who was first known as Maria. You know, Maria, she was always very manipulative. She's not a really forgiving character because she very much is such a narcissist, and she's very toxic. In the beginning, you kind of feel for her, you know, born in the 16th century, and she is a woman who does not really have a lot of choices. Really, her best get is to marry wealthy and marry well and get out of the, you know, the humdrum town that she's in, because she wants more from her life. You know, she wants more than her provincial life. She has ambition, but she's also a queer woman, right? So she doesn't really have much attraction to men. She doesn't want to be a mother. And in this time period, you were only as good as your womb, right? That's all you were good for. And then she meets Sabine, who is a woman, who she finds herself strangely attracted to, who gives her contraceptives so that she, you know, cannot have children. Because the last thing she wants is to have a child with a man she abhors, who only sees her, again, as a vessel for producing an heir. But that was traditional of that time period. So in the beginning, you kind of feel for her. And then she becomes a vampire. And then you really see, like, wow, you're just kind of awful. You know, all of her inhibition. She starts to let loose because, again, now she's a vampire. So no one can stop her. She's all powerful. She can do what she wants. And even for a little while, you start to feel for her. And then she meets Lottie. And anyone reading can see, like, she manipulates Lottie. She doesn't exactly take advantage of her, but she grooms her. She grooms her. She manipulates her because she wants love, but I don't think she quite understands what love is. I don't think she knows what love is. I don't think she ever. I often question, did she have the capacity to love when she was immortal and never learned how to love? So then, when she became a vampire, the capacity just vanished. She's very toxic and very awful as the story progresses. But we don't hear Lottie's side of the story until probably halfway through the book. It's almost like Lottie's forgotten. The first half of the book is mostly about Sabine and her history, and then, finally her introduction into Lottie and how she navigates society. And then you also meet Alice, and you discover more about Alice and her pain and her grief from her past, and how she has to kind of rediscover herself as a vampire, and how this wasn't exactly her choice, but you don't really know how she became a vampire. That part is just how the hell did this happen to her? One thing we know, she's, in bed with Lottie, they're making love. Next thing you know, she wakes up, Lottie's gone, and she just is a vampire. It's very subtly done, so you don't really see how it's done. So you're reading the story to try to figure out, how the hell did you get turned into a vampire? And then with Lottie's great reveal, it was Sabine. You're okay, so what the hell happened between you and Sabine to make you, one, leave her, and two, have her turn your one-night stand into a vampire? What exactly happened? And then you get Lottie's side of the story. Finally, halfway through I'm reading the book, and I loved it, don't get me wrong. But I'm reading the book, and I'm just thinking to myself, I want to know Lottie's story. I want to know. But it is given to you at the appropriate time. It is well done and well executed. And I will say this, someone who is a Bostonian, I went to college, I grew up in Boston, and then I, went back to Boston for college. The Blue Line, at the end of the Blue Line, there's a stop called Wonderland. So when Alice says she's found herself in Wonderland, I just think, first of all, such a great play on words, because it's a throwback to Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland. And if you're someone, because Alice's whole story arc takes place in Boston, Massachusetts. So if you are someone who is unfamiliar with Boston, you're going to think oh, this is just a play on Alice in Wonderland. But she was on the train. I'm just she must have been on the Blue Line to find herself in Wonderland. Trying to follow. I mean, it's out there. It's in the outskirts. There's no reason for you to go to Wonderland unless you have to go get something from Wonderland, basically. So it makes sense that she's on the Blue Line to Wonderland. So I think it was just such a great subtle nod to Bostonian life and the subway, and also a great play on words and reference to Alice in Wonderland, because she has in a way found herself in Wonderland, physically and figuratively. She was bit by a vampire, has no idea how she was turned into a vampire, and is now trying to navigate this whole new existence while also having an existential crisis. She's I don't know what's going on. I need to not be this that I am right now. She wants answers. She's demanding answers. So it's expertly well done. It's expertly written. And I just think that Schwab just did such a phenomenal job with the storytelling, with building that momentum and building the story and giving us, yes, it takes halfway for you to get Lottie's story, but it makes sense why her story doesn't begin until halfway through the book. It makes perfect sense if you're reading the book. You're just like, wow. Because you have to build up to that. So you have to learn about Sabine first and her life as a vampire before she meets Lottie. And yes, it goes back and forth between Sabine and Alice through very large intervals, by the way. You'll spend a lot of time with Sabine's POV before you go and have like maybe one chapter with Alice. But they balance each other out. The tone of each story makes sense in comparison to the tone of what's already being told and why we're going back and forth between these two characters and how we're getting back to Lottie. It makes sense. The flow of the story, the way it unravels, it just sucked me in from beginning to end. I absolutely love this book so much. It was so good. Please read it. Just read it. Just be a Schwab fan. Be a Schwab groupie just like I am. In any case, absolutely phenomenal book. Highly recommend this book. It's 5 stars. Easy 5-star novel. Hands down, no question about it. Loved it. So, on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.